Hello everyone. In the last video, I explained what is ISI, inter-symbol interference, why we get ISI, how to eliminate, what is the condition to eliminate the inter-symbol interference on the transmitted baseband signal. So this is continuation of the same topic. So the previous video and this topic actually are related. Now in this video, I'm going to explain how to design a band limited signal for a zero ISI. That means if you want to get no inter-symbol interference, that is zero ISI, this is basically called Nyquist criteria also, obtaining a zero ISI. How to design a band limited signal, or what should be the shape of that band limited signal? That's what we are going to design and discuss in this particular video. Now, see, the topic says design of a band limited signal for zero ISI, the Nyquist criteria. Now, for a BTU students, what they have specified is in the syllabus, only the definition of Nyquist criteria is actually enough. That's what they have said. But I'll go in detail about this with small derivation and all, which is actually not required for BTU students. For others, it is useful or helpful. Now, see, when we transmitted our signal through X of t, say, through a band limited channel, which has the response of, say, C of f. C of f is the frequency response of the channel. GT of f is the response of the transmitting low pass filter. GR of f is the response of the receiving filter. So I'm using a transmitting filter. The signal is given to the channel. From channel, it will go to the receiver. In the receiver, the front end is the low pass filter, which has the response equal to GR of f. So in the output of that receiving filter, the overall response, that is X of f of the received signal, I can say is given by this. That is GT of f multiplied by C of f and GR of f. Again, so about this I have explained in my last video. I mean, you also know that when a signal is passed through a receiving filter at time t equal to mt, particular per time instant, mt, let us say 1t, 2t, 3t, 4t, whatever, in general mt. What is the signal we get? We get a signal equal to ym. This is the signal I will get ym, which is equal to actual symbol what I am expecting, that is x of 0 or x is 0 am. Here's a, they have given a parenthesis over here. This x is 0 am plus, I consider this term here, that is V of mt. V of mt, what is V of mt? V of mt is the additive white Gaussian noise. That's what I expect. Even if there is no noise, I expect only this particular symbol to be present in the output of receiving filter at the mth interval of time. But what is happening here? This term is going to be also added with the actual symbol received or transmitted. What is this? This is nothing but it is the ISI. That's what I have explained in my last video. Inter-symbol interference. Now I want to avoid this ISI. I want zero ISI. That's what my heading says. Title says. Design of a band limited signal, bandwidth limited signal, the shape of that particular signal, what should be it is, to get a zero ISI. How to eliminate this particular term. So the necessary condition to eliminate the ISI is that this x of mt minus nt should be equal to 0 for n not equal to m. This is the condition for n not equal to m and all the remaining possibilities, right? Between minus to the plus infinity. So this term, if this particular term is equal to 0 for n not equal to m, okay, and x is 0, this x is 0 should be not equal to 0. It should be something. If it is 0, then we are not going to get that particular symbol itself, right? So we have to satisfy these conditions. Let us assume that this x is 0 is always equal to 1. It is normalized. It is 1. So that means ym should be equal to am if this particular term is equal to 0 along with some noise. But if noise is absent, perfect, no problem. X is 0 is 1. So ym equal to am. That is the transmitted symbol. Right? This is the condition. That means what the condition we have to satisfy in the time domain is to get a zero ISI, that x of nt, that is x of say nt here, should be equal to 1 for n equal to 0. That means this should be equal to 1 for n equal to 0, this x of nt, and it should be equal to 0 for n not equal to 0. Right? This is for n equal to 0. It should be equal to 1. In that case, I get ym equal to am. This is the time domain. So if I take a Fourier transform to this particular equation, I'll get this particular condition. So this is the definition. So what it says, x of f should be equal to, that is x of f plus m by t summation between minus to plus infinity, x of f plus m by t should be equal to t. This is the very important condition for getting the 0 ISI. This is the frequency domain, this is in the frequency domain, this is in the time domain. So remember this particular equation, this is important, I said already. So this condition we have to satisfy. This is what the definition says for a 0 ISI. And this particular condition is called as Nyquist criteria for 0 ISI. Fine. Now we will go to the proof of this. Now just look at this. So I have taken this equation here. This is in the frequency domain. Okay. I take an IFT for that. Inverse Fourier transform to that. So what is IFT? This is the standard equation, right? X of t is equal to this, x of f. At t equal to nt, let us say, particular instant of time, discrete time interval, nt, x of f exponential minus j 2 pi f nt. That's what I'll get. Is it right? Now what I'll do is, I substitute x of f and I will limit this integration to the finite range of 1 by t. Somehow I do some mathematical substitutions and all. I'll limit the integration to the interval only 1 by t. So what we have to do, x of nt, just from this equation I'll go to this here, this particular substitution. X of nt is equal to, I substitute that x of f from the previous equation. This is x of, no, this is the equation, this is what I have to substitute there. So I substitute over here, okay, x of f this, and this is the interval, what finite interval what I have considered here. This is between minus to plus infinity. This integration is changed into summation and finite integral of interval 1 by t. Then I substitute that x of f over here. Okay, I'll change this integration from this particular limit to, this is with respect to the f. Integration is with respect to f. I'll change that integration with respect to some other variable, say f dash. In that case, I get a df equal to df dash. Okay, and the limits will change. So all these things I have done in my notes. Please refer my notes. My students can refer my notes. This is simple mathematics what I have done. I have changed the integration with respect to f dash here. You may wonder why f dash is not there, because df is equal to df dash. That's what I'll get. And this lower limit is changed to this limit. Upper limit will change to this particular limit. Overall range is 1 by t. It is minus 1 by 2t to the half of t and half of t. The overall range is 1 by t. Rearrange the equation, bring that summation inside, just change the order of this, that's what I'll get, right? Then this entire thing, I will take it as z of f. So this is what I got the equation, right? Now, what is z of f? See, this z of f is nothing but this, isn't it? That's what I replaced over here, no? Z of f is equal to this, and exponential term is same, df and integration, that's what. So z of f is equal to this. So what is this equation is? What is this equation says? This equation says that x of f, this in the frequency domain, is repeating for every 1 by t seconds. The spectrum of x of f is repeating for 1 by t seconds. That's what it is saying, right? So that means this z of f is periodic, repeating for every 1 by t seconds. That means that any periodic signal can be represented in the form of Fourier series. Is it right? So if I use that Fourier series representation, this is the Fourier series representation for z of f. Same equation I represented something like this in terms of some coefficient multiplied by exponential j 2 pi n f t. This is the standard Fourier series representation of any periodic signal. Okay. Now what is Zn? It's a coefficient. So Zn is a coefficient which is given by this equation. That is Zn is equal to t. For this case, Zn equal to t integral zf exponential minus j 2 pi n f t. Again, it's a standard form of representing, right? Now what I'll do is I compare this equation, entire equation, with this equation. I'll compare here, okay, by comparing this in this. See what I have this same equation, integral and this product, integral and this product, okay, except that t is an extra term I have, except minus this is plus. So what I can do is by comparing this equation with this equation, I can write like this. This is nothing but x of nt, but it is x of minus nt because I have a plus here and minus here, multiplied by t. I don't have a t here, so multiplied by t. So Zn is given by t into x of minus nt. That's what I got. So Zn is equal to t into x of minus nt. Now what I can say over here is, Okay, in terms of Zn, a coefficient. See, the actual equation, the theoretically Nyquist criteria says in the time domain x of nt should be equal to 1 for n equal to 0 and it is 0 for n not equal to 0. That's what I told in my last slide, right? In terms of Zn, if I say this z of Zn should be equal to t for n equal to 0. If n is equal to 0, it should be equal to t and Zn equal to 0 for n not equal to 0. That is the necessary condition to satisfy 0 ISI. Okay, so when I substitute this here, when I substitute that this Zn term, this Zn term over here, okay, for n equal to 0, this exponential term will be 1 and Zn equal to t, that's what I'll get. So Zf equal to t for n equal to 0. And if for n not equal to 0, anyway Zn is equal to 0, the entire term will be equal to 0. I get only one term saying that Z of f is equal to t. Right? That's what I got. By substituting in this equation, I got Zf equal to t. Or equivalently, I can say that what is Z of Zf? Z of f? Z of f is equal to this equation, right? Is it right? Z of f equal to this equation. So that means this particular term should be equal to t. So in another way, I'm saying that to get a 0 ISI, this entire term should be equal to t. That's what my Nyquist criteria says. See, this is the Nyquist criteria which I defined now earlier. This is the proof of that. So that means this should be equal to t. Now, going to the next part of this, again, so these things are for a VTU students, these things are all not required. Just for a clarification purpose, I'm using this explanations. Now, in this case, what exactly I'm doing? So, what should be the shape of the signal? We have to decide, I said, we have to decide the shape of the signal, receiving signal, so that I avoid a ISI, 0 ISI. Now, I consider three cases. Let us assume that the channel has got a bandwidth equal to W. That means it is 0 for f more than W. Consequently, we can say that x of f is also equal to 0 for f more than W. What is the meaning of that? Because signal goes through the channel, it has got only bandwidth of W hertz, only that, no, we get a spectrum only within that particular frequency range. Above that, it is 0. Now, I consider three cases here. The first case for a Z of f, I have to plot a shape of Z of f in the frequency domain. Then I'll represent in the time domain finally. For the first case, which is equal to t less than 1 by 2w, t equal to 1 by 2w, t more than 1 by 2w. Three cases I consider. I'll go to the first case now, where it says t less than 1 by 2w or 1 by t is more than 2w. Okay. So what this condition? This is a necessary condition, right? So if I substitute those values, say 1 by t, I consider if it's more than 2w. Just look at this spectrum. This is the spectrum for the first case. What I'm getting? I'm getting a non-overlapping spectrums. I'm getting a non-overlapping spectrums in the frequency domain. This is Z of f, the plot of Z of f. Okay, this is Z of f. Whether I get this condition, I need to check that this summation, this should be equal to t. So when I sum together all the spectrums, it should be equal to t. Means it should have a constant magnitude which is equal to t. Will I get it? Will I get it? For this particular, t less than 1 by 2w, that's what I need to understand. Okay. Now, just look at this. When I substitute this 1 by t more than 2w, just look at this. This particular tail of this spectrum is given by 1 by t minus w. All these things you have studied earlier again. Okay, spectrums, sampling theorem and all, we have studied that. Anyway, 1 by t minus w tail, this is w tail, this is 1 by t minus w tail. If this 1 by t is more than 2w, let us say 3w. What is 1 by t is 3w, I consider. 3w minus w is 2w, right? There is a separation between this and this, right? There is a separation between this and this. There is a separation between this spectrum and the immediate next spectrum. When I sum together, there is a huge gap between these spectrums, right? This gap will not be filled. I won't get this is equal to t. This spectrum equal to t. That's what I have to get. This should be equal to t. Just one second. I take a pen here to explain the concept. So this should be equal to straight line should be equal to t. Will I get it? This is the question. See, there's a huge gap over here, right? I will never get it. I will never get it. So that means what this condition is, this condition cannot be used. So there is no choice of x of f to ensure that z of f is equal to t. So there is no way that we can avoid ISI. That means without ISI, with this relationship, it is impossible. Fine. Now, go to the second case. Second example is T equal to 1 by 2W. So if this is the case, again you draw the spectrum. Now this is an overlapping spectrum. See, 1 by T is 2W, right? This tail is 1 by T is 2W. 2W minus W is what? W. So that means this is W, this is W. They both are overlapping. There's a one condition here, only one possibility which satisfies this condition, that is that of f equal to t. Here, there's a possibility of, if it is ideal case, there's a ideal case. Remember, this is not this is shown a practical case over there. It's an ideal case. If the spectrum is exactly something like this, it's only one possibility. It's one possibility. See, if the spectrum is something like this, okay, the next one is something like this. The next one is something like this. Straight line. I'm not able to draw. I'm not very perfect in drawing this. This is the case. So I get a T over here, right? Practically, it's not possible. But theoretically, we can say that this is a Nyquist case, Nyquist condition. This is what the Nyquist condition is. T equal to 1 by 2W. So here it is possible. There's only one possibility over here. So what is that possibility is? That is z of f is equal to T. For this same condition is possible. In the time domain, I'll get this particular equation. That is a sinc pulse. Sinc of t by t, that's what I'll get. This is the frequency domain, right? X of f equal to t. This is t, right? When I sum together, I get a t. That is in the time domain. When I take an inverse Fourier transform to this, I get x of t equal to sinc of t by t. How to get that? I have explained here. This is there in my notes also. Again, this is simple mathematics. What we have done here. This is the term. I have taken inverse Fourier transform. I have taken inverse Fourier transform over here. Integration of exponential term. Substitute the limits. We get this, convert somehow into the sinc pulse. I get something like this, which is equal to what? Sinc of t by t or sinc of 2wt. This is what the equation says. This is the equation, sinc of t by t or sinc of 2wt, where 1 by t is 2w, right? Okay, this is second case. One possibility, one condition, only one condition, that is a Nyquist condition. Only one possibility we have actually over here. We need multiple possibilities, different shapes. I have to go for a different shapes. Now, I'll go to the practical case. Practically what we can do, the third possibility, that is choose t more than 1 by 2w. Okay, now in this case what we get an overlapping kind of spectrum. See this, okay. Now there's here first case there's a gap, huge gap, so we won't get t. Here there's a one possibility. Here there are multiple possibilities. We have a multiple possibility over here. Fine. So we have overlapping spectrum sort of, because 1 by t is less t is more than 1 by 2w. Okay, that is 1 by t is less than w. 1 by t is less than w. So that means, or 2w, we can say, less than 2w. If it is w, w and w is cancels and we get a overlapping starting from somewhere here, right? Isn't it? Depends on the frequency what we choose. Okay, now, so in this case, when I take a inverse Fourier transform to the such equations in the z of f, this is this kind of shape, okay? This kind of thing we can generate by using a shape something called as raised cosine spectrum. See here we got a sinc pulse, right? This is sinc pulse, right? In the frequency domain, we get something called as a raised cosine spectrum, which I'll show you in the next, in the time domain, I'll show you in the next slide. So this is possible with a raised cosine spectrum in the frequency domain. The equation for that XRC of f is given by this. It's a very complicated equation for 3 different conditions. Just go through that. Again, I said for BTU students, this is allowed, not required. Here we have only x of f equal to t. Very simple equation, right? Here, a raised cosine function has got this particular equation, where this alpha is something called as roll off factor. Alpha is a roll off factor which can take a value of between 0 to 1. It is 0 less than or equal to alpha. It is less than or equal to 1. I have written more than or equal to, very sorry, less than or equal to 1. It is 0 to 1. Okay. Now, for this raised cosine spectrum, if I take a inverse Fourier transform, this is the equation I get. This is the equation I'll get. This is a sinc pulse multiplied by cos signal divided by something. That mathematics I am not doing. Converting by applying IFT and all, I'll get this particular equation. Then I'll plot this particular representation, the sinc pulses or raised cosine pulses and all for different values of alpha. Let us say the alpha equal to, let us say 0, alpha equal to 0.5 and alpha equal to 1. 3 values I will consider. I'll plot the graph in the time domain. Okay, for alpha, when I say alpha equal to 0, this is 0, cos 0 is 1, right? what I'll get? I get a simple sync pulse, which is same as before, the previous case, right? So this one, the solid line, this one, for alpha equal to 0, it is simple sync pulse. As the alpha value increases, the shape changes. Let's just look at this. The shape changes. For alpha equal to 1, see this, this is completely different, right? Now, this is the practical case. This is practically implementable. Now, what is the amount of extra bandwidth it has occupied here? That's what we have to understand. Just look at this. This is x of f. Okay. For a first case, alpha equal to 0, this is what the spectrum I'll get. This is the ideal case for alpha equal to 0. For alpha equal to 0.5, the shape of the receiving filter or the signal should be something like this. Something like this. For alpha equal, that is alpha for 0.5. Alpha equal to 1, something like this, right? So, what we can say here is, for alpha equal to 1, this is the spectrum. It is going to occupy, compared to this, the bandwidth, see, 100% more bandwidth it is going to occupy. For alpha equal to 0.5, this is the tail. So, this is what I'll get, something like this. This is compared to this ideal case, it's going to occupy 50% of extra bandwidth is actually required. So, we have to compromise in terms of bandwidth, but practical receivers, practical filters can be designed without ISI. Without ISI. So, we can say that this tail of this is going to change proportionate to 1 by t cube for alpha more than 0. So, what I have done in this video is I have explained the shape or band limited designing of a band limited signal to obtain no ISI, 0 ISI, the Nyquist condition. The Nyquist condition as well as raised cosine spectrum. This is also I have explained. For more explanation at all, please watch my previous videos on the same topic in my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.